Hi, everybody. This is day 1066 days since Richard vanished from the barracks. Um, right there at Fort Bliss, El Paso, Texas, border city. Uh, I call it the Siamese sister city of Juarez, Mexico. They're right there. Let's see if I can make sure that everything is running right. Oh, thank you so much. I haven't looked at all the comments yet. So many comments. That's so great. Um, okay, here I am. Thank you so much for coming on. It is really a testimony to uh, how important this case is that we have gone on this long, still exposing the truth. I even put up a video early this morning, I think, about my flowers in the garden, that they're not in full bloom. Some of them have come out. The truth is exposed, right? But uh, there's still more. And I just was thinking about that this morning, and I was also thinking about peace, praying for peace. And then I thought to myself, but not at the expense of God's glory. Okay? Not the expense of God's glory. So that was my prayer this morning. I don't really tell people my prayers, but I just thought that that was so important, because we feel that we just can pray and hope for peace all the time, no matter what. And that's why we have gotten in this situation. Because if child sex trafficking wasn't going on, if young people were not being pimped out and sexually assaulted, if uh, I guess people felt emboldened to sell military equipment, steal it really from the American people, and sell it over there in Juarez for profit, because um, when the laws are so for a young couple, I just can't even imagine what it's like for them to start off. The housing prices are so high. The health care insurance is so high. Um, the price of cars are so high. Car insurance so high. Now the price of food is so high. And those are all stumbling blocks. Okay. And that's what God was talking about. Those that put stumbling blocks in the way of my children, you can just put a millstone around your neck and throw it into the abyss. And those are all stumbling blocks to um, make temptation more more wanting, right? Or um, to weaken a person so that they will fall for the temptations. And it's just like the drugs. When you make them so miserable, when you are doing psyops on our soldiers and you're making them so miserable, and you're sexually assaulting them in the barracks, and you're sexually harassing them in the barracks, and then you're just up to no good, and you're allowing the barracks to be marketplace for illegal drugs, then those soldiers, even the aspiring soldiers, will, it has a greater chance for them to fall for the temptation of buying the illegal drugs and, you know, making a mess again, making a mess, and then they get retaliated. But so that's why I point to the top. I point to the 44 four-star generals and admirals because they could make all the difference, and they don't. They're up to no good. And, it's not too late for them to do the right thing. And so we, uh, we were watching a lot of the Russian news. My parents spent 9 years in Moscow. Um, Part of that time was when it was still communist. This is years ago in the 1990s. And my dad was, uh, a, I don't want to say a fix-it man, maintenance man, I guess a maintenance man for the embassy, the American embassy there. I don't know what his exact title was, um, but whatever they needed, he would get done there at the embassy, the American embassy in Moscow, Russia. And my mom worked in the adoption office there, and they loved it because they learned so much. Of course, my parents, they'll go in, take Russian language courses, make friends with the locals in that area. We still have good friends. When the Iron Curtain came down, a good friend of my mother's sent her son to come and stay with us for a few months in the summer and go to American um, sports camp. And um, I will never forget it. I will never forget it when Andre came because he had been living behind the Iron Curtain for so long, in where there was just a monopoly, and you see that today uh, with our, compared to when I was younger. You just have one monopoly after the other here in this country, and you might think that they're owned by different people, but then that there's different companies, but then when you go look at like rental car businesses, you're like, geez, they're all owned by the same people. Um, you see the monopolies and what that causes. A spike in prices is one of the things that it causes, and it makes the young people have a very hard time getting started in life. But I remember when Andre was living with us, this is in the 1990s, and we were living uh, in the D.C. area, the Washington, D.C. area. Rob was working at Walter Reed as a perfusionist. And uh, Andre was in the bathroom, and I was like, what is he doing in there? In the bathroom, he's running the water, and I'm knocking on the door, and I'm saying, Andre, are you okay? What are you doing? And he's like, come in. And I went into the door. Mind you, he was 9 years old. Okay. And I walked in, and he was washing his clothes in the bathtub. He was washing his clothes in the bathtub. And I said, Andre, you're washing your clothes in the bathtub and wringing it out and hanging it up to dry. And I said, you know what? I want to show you something. I have a wash machine. And so I showed him the wash machine. He was so excited. He wanted like a screwdriver, and he wanted to take it apart to see how it worked. Um, but anyway, he's married now, with children, and anyway, and lives in Russia. And so we've had this, and we have friends, of course, all over the United States, in Ireland, all over Europe, um, South Africa. Uh, we just, especially my parents, they just make friends. They always made friends wherever they went. And so, what am I getting to is I was just watching what's going on in Russia, with this coup. And I have this one channel on YouTube that I really like to watch. It's uh, her name is Mandy. I believe her name's Mandy, and she is a body language uh, uh, reader, a body language reader. And I don't know if I put it on here. Maybe I should have put it on here. But anyway, and she was reading the body language of Putin during the speech during this attempted coup, or the I guess reported attempted coup, and who knows what it is. See, at this point for me, I just don't believe anything because I know the agencies are lying through their teeth. The media is lying through their teeth. The FBI is lying through their teeth. The government is lying through their teeth. The military command is lying through their teeth. It's like the trust has been broken. But the point that Mandy makes, the body language reader, is that Putin is talking about betrayal. And she goes, wow, I, and you have to listen to her assessment. It's really interesting. She goes, I never hear that from the Western speeches, right? She goes, I never hear them talking about betrayal. And, well, I've been talking about it, and I didn't know that it was such a uh, seldom mentioned topic. And so I thought that I would talk about it today, and in the in regards to Richard's case and the betrayal that he faced, because I think it's very, very important. I don't think people understand or even hold people accountable for betrayal. We're so used to betraying people and being betrayed and getting away with it. You know, letting people that betray us get away with it, and us, when we betray, we get away with it. And it's just become like a no big deal thing in the Western world. And I think that that is um, really short sighted of us, and our courts, and the punishments for betrayal is next. I don't even know if people even get punished for betrayal. Um, but the ramifications of it is so big. So I put together some thoughts about the betrayal in regards to Richard's case, because I think in having a Asian son-in-law, betrayal is a really, really still a very serious crime. And to betray your children, to betray your spouse, to betray your country, to betray your oath, right? To betray your duty. So I put together um, some aspects of betrayal in Richard's case, because we sent off that letter to Major General Eisenhower in hopes, well, because we think that he's not getting briefed correctly. And when we send off information now, we send it to a lot of people, because the trust is so broken, um, that you have to pile on to all people. Maybe one person, it will move them enough to do something. So it is, because it's a social pressure. We live in a culture of that's ruled by social pressure. Absolutely. It's not about betrayal. It's about social pressure. And so let's just talk about betrayal and the ramifications of it. So the first one I have is the betrayal of trust. which I just mentioned, with these emails, with communication, with lack of communication, the trust is so broken down, because of all the lies, and then you don't get transparency. And so I said, in Richard Halliday's case, it has revealed instances of betrayal within the military system where individuals entrusted with protecting the rights and well-being of their fellow soldiers have engaged in misconduct and cover-up. And when you allow one to betray you like that, then you have long cases like Lavina Johnson. She was her and her family were so betrayed, right? Absolutely betrayed. And that was misconduct and cover up. And that was years ago, I think a decade ago, maybe more than a decade ago. And now we have it over and over and over and over and over again because we allow it to happen, and it spirals out of control. And I think we are in agreement. I don't think anyone disagrees that there is a betrayal of trust. Then another betrayal of values. This case signifies a betrayal of the core values and principles that the military upholds, such as integrity, honesty, and accountability. It has exposed instances where these values were compromised for personal gain or to protect certain individuals. And absolutely, we have CID Special Agent Tavita Nusa, being right there in the same office with the head of the office, Special Agent Marlon Soto. And we have Marlon Soto, we have recordings that prove that he scrubbed Richard's file of any mention of one of our key witnesses, prime witnesses, in order to protect or cover up for Tavita Nusa and Leilani Hart. Absolutely. And so these betrayal of values, so the personal gain, the personal, what society deems important and relationships has become more important than integrity, more important than honesty, more important than all the core values of a leader like loyalty and duty. And when Tavita Nusa was having an affair with Leilani Hart, he was married to a different individual, and so was Leilani Hart. And so that is also, that is so normative now that was not reported in the CID, because that's a violation. That's against the UCMJ. And yet that also, and nobody has really mentioned that when I report all this. They just gloss over that. That is a violation of the UCMJ, is having that adulterous affair. And that is not even, the generals don't even care about it. It's like a nothing burger to them. And yet they'll say to us, underage drinking is taken seriously. What about affairs? Okay. So the whole system, the integrity of the system has just been decimated. They just don't uphold the UCMJ only pick and choose what they want. It's a smorgasbord. It's a smorgasbord of personal gain and protecting individuals. Um, Betrayal of duty. The actions and inactions surrounding Richard's case indicates a betrayal of the duty to serve and protect. It raises concerns about whether all relevant parties fulfilled their responsibilities in ensuring a thorough and unbiased investigation into his disappearance. And so we know that the FBI um, is botched in this case. We know that the CID, in so many different instances, this is a botched case, a botched investigation. Um, with the JAG, we know it's a botched investigation. With the military police, we know this is a botched investigation. With the sheriff's department, we know this is a botched investigation. With with General McConville and the stage task force find Richard Halliday, we know this is a botched investigation. With the tampering of evidence, with the scrubbing of witnesses, this is a botched investigation. And also the disappearing of evidence, this is a botched investigation. And so that's a lot of people not doing their duty. That's a lot of people not doing their duty for it to be this botched. For the FBI to botch it, the CID to botch it, the sheriffs to botch it, the JAG to botch it, the command to botch it. Yeah, it is totally a botched investigation because of the betrayal of duty. And that's a wowzer. The betrayal of justice. The case reveals a potential betrayal of justice where the pursuit of truth and accountability we know that it was manipulated because of the FBI is a very, very good example, even though that's just the tip of the iceberg. When you have the FBI man we're being told that he's just a nobody. That's a betrayal of justice. When we're told that Richard has an arrest warrant, but they can't produce an arrest warrant, right? We were even given a warrant number way back when. They can't find it. They can't find it. And he's a yellow Interpol, right? I mean, that's a betrayal of justice. So they were faking everything, y'all. And then, it really is kind of interesting that they accused Richard to the law enforcement agency of counterfeiting money, right? And yet they were counterfeiting the smear campaign. They were counterfeiting this botched investigation into him. They were, staging the fake task force. They were staging this, there's a warrant out there, and there isn't. They were counterfeiting evidence against Richard or certain aspects of this case. They were counterfeiting. And Richard only had prop money, clear as day. So I think that is really interesting. Okay, so there's also a betrayal of fellow soldiers. The unjust smear campaigns and mistreatment of witnesses, whistleblowers, Richard, can represent a betrayal of fellow soldiers who have the right to a fair and just system. So, if they can go to the military police guard mount and I'm talking about the CID and the FBI here, if they can go to the military police guard mount and they can at in that authority smear unjustly a missing soldier, right, to the military police soldiers that believe that they are law enforcement officers, right? And you make them uh, think very poorly, be bitter, hostile even towards Richard, that you would go to the point. We had a military police specialist, Anthony Swafford, go into his social media, right? Because social media rules things now, and dissuade people from helping the family find Richard. Can you believe that? Dissuading anybody to help and smearing Richard by repeating the unjust smear campaign that he heard from the guard mount. So this is a betrayal of fellow soldiers. Anthony Swafford now, um, he messed up because he trusted the guard mount. He trusted his training, and both his training and the guard mount betrayed him. That leadership at the guard mount betrayed him. His training betrayed him. And so this is a betrayal of fellow soldiers. That's what that means. That's what I was trying to get across. Betrayal of the public's trust. This is no good for our military. The military is on a path on purposely to betray the public's trust. They want to betray the public's trust. They don't want the regular American to volunteer to serve in the military. I really believe that. That I think this is where I'm at right now. I think that they are going to try to get these migrants, these people that they have brought in. We have what, 85,000 unaccompanied minors, and a lot more others, and they're going to say, look, we'll offer you citizenship, or we'll offer you, food and a place to stay and all of that if you join the military. And then we will have people that are not, that don't, and I don't want to put words in their mouth. They might do really, really well in the military, but I feel like it is a rotten way to do it. It's a rotten plan. And I think that they would send them off to wars that were unjust, like they've done to us. But we're starting to get it now. We're starting to understand that the wars were not about defending the Constitution. And so, I just saw a video someone sent me of all of these veterans throwing their medals away and apologizing to Iraq, apologizing to Afghanistan, apologizing to all the places they were deployed, and they were destroying the land and the people. They were really hurt. So this is definitely a betrayal of public's trust. And then you don't have the support, the full support of the military. And you don't have then the volunteers. So who do they want to be in the military to defend the Constitution, right? I think it's that's a dangerous game. I think so. So the next one I have is betrayal of the Halliday family. The family of Richard Halliday has experienced a profound sense of betrayal. Absolutely. The mishandling and the cover-up of this case is so heartbreaking. because it's not just the U.S. Army, it's the DOD. And it's not just the DOD, it's the DOJ. It's also, what about, Bill Hicks and that whole crowd over there in the civilian side that should help us out? You know, we have been threatened. Anyway, and it's not, it's the CID and it's the FBI, and definitely it is these institutions that are meant to protect Richard. Um, they are just so broken. They're just shattered. And because of that, our recourses are so slim. But God provides. So, yeah, God provides. But it really makes any kind of recourse very slim, and that's not right, because there's so many families that want answers, and the system's really broken. The betrayal of the system. We have millions of dollars that we spend on our system, but these irregularities, this misconduct, all of that's surrounding this case, it just points to betrayal, 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 and betrayal of the military system itself. It exposes how vulnerable they are, the biases, the failures within the system, and that, if you don't want to play in the Vanity Fair game, then you're going to be retaliated against. Maybe I don't want to play the game, right? Um, don't I have rights? But no, you get retaliated. So, betrayal of the mission. My husband always talked about the mission, the mission, the mission. 30 years. And I think this is a betrayal of the mission, which is to defend the Constitution. So, the mission of the military, to defend and protect this nation, and the injustice, the misconduct that undermines the mission's integrity and raises questions about the commitment of upholding the values and principles that are the foundation of military service. Absolutely. Betrayal is serious, y'all. It is so serious. And we don't we don't count it as serious. Why? I mean, betrayal, it's taken down our country. And so the last one I have here is betrayal of future generations. That the legacy of Richard Halliday, and I think the legacy of Richard Halliday, my son did something absolutely remarkable for his young age, and being so far from home. He did something really remarkable. He stood up against the evil. He stood up against the evil. And I think that he's going to have an amazing legacy. I think everybody's going to know his name. I really do. And we're really working hard to make sure that he doesn't die in vain. That he didn't die in vain. That he wasn't murdered in vain. That we can expose the evil and make sure that those smears get answered for. That people remember him for who he is. Really remarkable, super remarkable. So the legacy of Richard Halliday, serves as a reminder to future generations. So he has a great legacy. And, when we really fully expose this, it will be a reminder to future generations. They will know Richard Halliday's name, and it will be a positive reference to it. You know, it's not like some other people in this case that have a negative legacy. Um, no, I think Richard will have an extremely positive legacy. So that will call for. I think it's gonna undo the whole system. I really do, and that's why they are putting so much of of their skin in the game. I mean, they really are. They're putting a lot of skin in the game because they have a mission, and their mission is totally different from what their oath is, from what their creed is, from what their mission is. They have a different, um, this underground kind of mission. So, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you. Let's see the comments right now after going through the betrayal. Anicia, thank you. Good evening to you. Uh, Danielle, thank you so much. Good evening to you. Manina, I hope I'm saying that name right. Mrs. Halliday, I love you. I love you too. No wonder Richard did not get along with the pedos. Yeah, we're defending pedophilia right now. That's what's going on. The generals are defending pedophiles. That's what's going on here. A whole pedophile society or business plan or whatever, this human child sex trafficking. That's what's going on here. And there's more to it. There's, of course, there's illegal drugs to it. It's the selling of military equipment and weapons and ammunition. It's you know it's it all goes together, right? The porn, absolutely the porn, but definitely pedophilia. We have a duty. I feel like I have a duty. Yes, and that's what I'm saying. I prayed this morning for peace, but not at the expense of the glory of God, right? If if defending pedophiles means peace, then I'm sorry. I don't want peace because it's such a violent act towards our children, towards our future, towards our families, and absolutely towards God. And I cannot um, defend pedophiles, okay? Child sex trafficking, any kind of porn, because remember, Kanye West was really, um, he saw it in the belly, right? He was in the belly. And he gave an amazing interview. And the interview was any porn is child sex trafficking. Okay? Because in order to get to even the adult porn, these young people are groomed and they're pimped out at a very young age, and it's made normative to them to have this sex cult, right? To have the sex cult attitude, and and I noticed that happened in Richard's case. Um, and right now, with the 14-year-old being pimped out there in the barracks, and we know that that's not an isolated case. I'm telling you right now that I know through what I've been told that that's not an isolated case at Fort Bliss or on other installations. And we know that because Command Sergeant Major, we know that from other sources, but also because Command Sergeant Major Jakovitz said they brought in girls, they meaning Major General Clem Coward, brought in girls during the COVID lockdown to lift morale. What they're going to is, you see, they're going to lift morale by having drunken orgy parties, or are they going to have them stand 6 feet apart and sing kumbaya and, not have any alcohol, and that they're all 21 years old, right? All these girls are 21 years old. No, they were, if any of them was younger than, what is it, 17, 16 years old, they're grooming our soldiers to be pedophiles. Yes, it's been long enough, and they refuse to give them to us. And we want Richard Halliday remains now. We want his remains because we know through all of the evidence, and thank you so much, we know that they knew that he was murdered because we have information that even the command gave the okay to murder Richard. Okay. So that is a huge allegation. A huge allegation. But that's what we're getting. And because there was no search for Richard, no search at all, they didn't start, and this is by the hand of Director Ford, that they didn't even start until the 1st of September of 2020 because we finally got involved. All right? They didn't do anything. Media didn't even cover that there was a missing soldier. It was, I'm telling you, from the very get-go, the command canceled any search, any looking for Richard. And so they covered up, or they had the back of the murderers. And then we have these autopsy reports that have not been, the command can write us right now. Major General Eisenhower can write us right now and say, yeah, there are no autopsy reports in the case of your son. Right? That's what they could say. Because that's all we ask. Is there any autopsy reports in the case of our son, Richard Halliday? They don't have to give us the numbers or whatever. We have the numbers. We have the information that they tortured him. They murdered him. They dismembered him. They put him in different locations. And we have FBI man saying they were looking for him in different locations after they had already found his remains. He's dead, but they're looking in, 5 locations. So, and the Mexican autopsy report says it was fragmented remains that they found. Fragmented. So why can't they at least give us an answer for that? So that puts up a lot of alarms. So, yeah. Give us Richard. Give us Richard. I hope you have no children. You will burn in hell, General Garbage. I think you're right. I think this is such a serious crime. Because they didn't stop there. They didn't stop with the retaliation, the premeditated torture and murder of Richard and the dismemberment of Richard, and then the illegal exposing of remains, and then hiding the remains. They didn't stop there. They smeared him. They conducted psychological warfare on our family. asymmetric warfare tactics during this whole case, military operations against this case, so many betrayals, so many betrayals. Um, Only God can forgive them of that. I'm telling you. They would have to, you know, the death penalty needs to be on the table. Absolutely. For what they've done. The death penalty needs to be on the table. And Texas has the lethal injection. So I do agree. I do agree. And then maybe when the perpetrators, when we have justice, maybe then we can be allowed to grieve, truly grieve. Do not trust our, no, we all understand. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. I think Richard's name um, is going to have a great legacy. A great legacy. And, you know, it's been a shocker, I think, um, to expose what we have exposed. And because and we don't even know what he was complaining about, right? I mean, we have an idea. Um, Once we find that out, once we know the crimes that were committed that he was blowing the whistle on and what they did to him, um, yeah, and I can tell you that at the end he was afraid because we have a video of him. He's afraid. And he went and bought a pistol. He was afraid. So for that young age to stand firm against these, even in fear, you know, courage is not without fear, right? Most of the time when we do something courageous, it is in fear, but we do it anyway. We do it because it's right. And so what Richard did at such a young age is really remarkable. And and I want people to know about it. I do. And we really have to, all of us, Team Find Richard Halliday, all of us have to come together and brainstorm um, how and what we can do with this legacy to be a positive, um, to give back, to be a positive influence on society, a positive influence on our country, a positive influence on our service members with this legacy. And, you know, when I think about that, it makes you very careful not to get too angry, um, just to stay calm, stay focused, and keep exposing the unbelievable evil so we can get rid of the unbelievable evil, right? That's exactly um, my prayer every day is stay calm, Pat. Because, you know, when I think of Richard and I think of what they did to him, um, yeah, it's it's tough to stay calm. It really is. So we have to do this legally. We have to do this the right way, not the way they did it, not manipulative, not, you know, cutthroat. We have to do this the right way and, you know, and be a positive influence on our young people because they're so used to the cutthroat social way. And, you know, yeah, we need to change that. get rid of the survival of the fittest, the stupid Darwin theory that has been crammed down our throats and psyopted into our mind. We need to get back to the beautiful creation of God, where we have the Medal of Honor ethos, where we have the Good Samaritan, where we care about each other, and betrayal becomes the dirtiest word, right? Betrayal becomes the dirtiest word. That's what we need. Richard Halliday Child Advocacy Group. Oh, yeah, absolutely. 85, I think the last time we heard 85,000 unaccounted for minors. And, my heart goes out to these children, as everyone knows, because number one, Richard was adopted with his brother. Um, if Rob would have been younger, we would have went and adopted more. It's sad that there's an age on this, but yeah, it's hard work. It's not okay. I'm just gonna be nice and adopt these children. No, it's hard work because you've got their lives in your hand, and you have to fulfill. You make them promises. We made Robert and Richard promises, um, and those oaths mean something. And I'm not going to betray Richard. He's my son. I'm not going to betray my children. See, betrayal is a dirty word to me. A dirty word. And I'm not going to betray our country and our service members. What really needs to happen is the evil being exposed, called out, held accountable, and they have to be held accountable so that the good can flourish, right? I mean, when you have cancer in somebody, you just don't leave it there because they're going to die. And this betrayal is a cancer. It is terrible. Can you imagine? I just read off a few ways there's betrayal in Richard Halliday's case. That puts shivers up my spine because that was a lot, and that's just a few, and it's unacceptable to have so much betrayal. Okay. They need to give Richard and family justice. It's been long enough. Oh, yeah. And it's going to, we have it all. They can easily give us justice right now. In 24 hours, they could give us Richard's remains. Absolutely. There is no doubt with what we have. There is no doubt in my mind. Okay, there is no doubt in my mind they could do that. But you understand that will bring down the system. They give us Richard's remains, it brings down the system. So that's why we have to get this word out, because we're ruled by social pressure. Social pressure. And those that know what to do, the right thing, that are not implicated in this, they will be moved by social pressure. And Lieutenant General Bernabe said so. Remember, they didn't even bring us back on the rolls until Hannah had 40,000 shares on her Instagram. because of what was happening with Vanessa Guillen. She was getting, but we get what do you call that, shadow banned and everything. Absolutely. I've had my techie friends, they're like, oh man, you're getting shadow banned. So we rely on other people sharing, sharing, sharing. So yeah, so thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Okay, I just want to say I'll be back tomorrow, God willing. And like I said, we wrote a letter. We'll be writing more letters this week. We're going to be addressing Ted Cruz because Ted Cruz has been in the news quite a bit and he needs an update. He needs an update of this case. And we have been in touch with his office pretty much throughout this whole time. So we're going to be writing him an update and waiting for a response, a new response from Major General uh, Eisenhower. And also, you have to remember, we're still waiting for a response from the sheriffs. We're still waiting for a response from the representative. We're still waiting for a response from so many, the JAG office. Still waiting for a response. And even the summary, remember the summary from months ago from CID Quantico? Um, so we're still waiting for a response from CPS and on and on, on and on. It's just the list is so long. Rob keeps up with that. So thank you so much. God bless you all. And we love you. Share, share, and keep Richard's name out there. That's really, really important. And then I almost forgot to say, call media, call your representative, call your senators. Absolutely write letters. Write letters to, right now, Major General Eisenhower. Right, you can even just do the postcard that I put out there. Just print out the postcard and write in it, find Richard Halliday. It's been too long. 1,066 days and counting. It's been too long. So that would really, really help. Thank you so much. God bless you, and I'll be back tomorrow.